Peace and love, you guys. Salute. Salute to all my beautiful people. What's up, y'all? Okay, so I wanted to discuss the matter of Kamala interviewing with the National Association of Black Journalists. And I think it's important that we remain informed. And I know a lot of this whole electoral process has seemed very long-winded. At least for me it has, and for anybody who has felt the same way, trust me, I definitely concur that it's been kind of pervasive in certain ways. It's on everybody's palate. It's within the dialogue of many platforms and with many people. But I think it's also very imperative for us to be informed, particularly as Black people, and for us to remain as cognizant as possible, as aware as possible, because we need to know what the scope entails, because, we will inevitably and without a doubt be impacted by the landscape of the political realm. So I think it's important that we keep our eyes clear, that we refreshen our perspectives as much as possible, and remain in honest dialogue with each other. I think that's definitely important. So I definitely wanted to share some takeaways that I got from this evening of discussion that Kamala Harris had with the National Association of Black Journalists. So what it appeared to me to be was, first of all, this took place on Tuesday, you guys, about 2 days ago. And to me, it just looked like Kamala found herself speaking among a panel of press at this particular evening on Tuesday. And I say that it looked like she found herself among them and amid them because, that's exactly what it felt like. Her energy, her body language, especially when she was leaving the conference. It was just it was the most awkward thing ever. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the clip going across Twitter where she remains at the furthest distance you can in order to shake somebody's hand. She shakes the three interviewers' hands, and then she just kind of runs off the stage, child. I'm like, what is this? The most awkward exit I've ever seen. But yes, it looked like, she had just stumbled upon this discussion. Maybe having somewhere else better in mind that she would have rather have preferred to have been, and have spent her time than among these journalists that evening. That's what it looked like to me. But yes, I thought it necessary to divulge some major factors that I reviewed and that I wanted to share with you all. But of course, as always, I encourage any of you who are interested to go back and check out the discussion. It is on YouTube, the full interview, and sit down. Make a clear assessment for yourselves, process what it is that you see and go from there. Now, as for me, real talk, I was amazed, absolutely amazed at how barren the outlook for this country appears to be. And this is whether it's in the hands of the Democrats or the Republicans. I think I made that very clear previously. Very dismal outlook, looks very bleak. And certainly in seeing her get up there and just have absolutely nothing of value to posit to the conversation and to posit particularly to Black people, because she was at the National Association of Black Journalists. Okay, she had nothing to say. And, this isn't new. We already know her stance. We've seen her stance. But one would think that, once she gets amid some reputable Black figures who are going to be posing, what I thought was going to be some worthwhile and substantial questions, that she'd be prepared to address the Black public. But none of that was present. And actually, the interviewer's questions were horrid, if I'm being honest. Truthfully, I was also amazed by the matter that despite all of the words that Kamala used for the entirety of the evening, absolutely nothing of value was stated. Okay, I had to say that again. For those people who haven't watched it and who intend to, be forewarned, okay? She should really win a Pulitzer for the astounding depths that she is willing to go to in using 1,000 words per second without ever saying a thing. Y'all, it was absolutely sickening to watch this woman talk over, talk through, talk under, behind, and above everything that she was being asked. Insane. It was really the work of a magician, truly. Not 3-card Monty. I'm going to call her 3-card Kamala. That's her new name for me, y'all. Real talk. Absolutely amazing. And by the end of the discourse, I was honestly left, completely bereft of anything of use or substance, which has been a consistent issue, as we know, for those of us who have been following along. And honestly, it is what the country can count on to continue, okay, should she be elected president. Now, a huge red flag for me, even before things really settled in, the overall tone that I had noticed before things really started to really get heavy, was the tone of the interviewers. As soon as the discussion commenced, all I could ask was, why were these panelists so passive in their questioning and their approach? Now, I don't know if you guys recall back in July when Trump joined this very conference, okay? He came to the National Association of Black Journalists. And at that particular time, the women on the panel wasted no time at all in showing their disdain for his stance, even on things unrelated to policy, okay? They had every type of heat, every type of neck bopping. The man barely sat down before the guns came out and blazed. Now, I don't rock with that man at all, not in the least bit. But the one thing that he said that was correct during that interview was, damn, I barely sat down. You didn't even say hello to me. I got no hello, no how are you. And he was absolutely right. These women were on 10 spewing venom barely 3 seconds after the man sat on his seat. Now, I get the, heat and the intensity, I guess. I wouldn't have approached it in that way if I'm speaking to a presidential candidate of any status. But if you're going to have and hold that position, how about that apply to everybody? Okay, that's an area that one size needs to fit all. Because if people are coming to your location and they're coming to speak to your association, where the fuck is the equality? Everybody should be getting this smoke equally. I want equal ass whoopings for whoever comes on, your panel to discuss any topics with you. Let that be representative of what you do at the National Association of Black Journalists. You apply pressure. Everybody should be getting pressure if that's the case. No such pressure was in the building when Kamala joined. That was among the first red flags for me. Okay. I also noticed that this time, instead of a panel of all women, they had brought 2 men and a woman this particular time for this interview. So I found that to be very interesting. And mainly because of the fact I felt that when Trump visited the discussion, I don't know why they didn't have any black men present with him. I found it to be odd that it was an all-female panel. But yes, I think it was absolutely absurd, the manner in which the interviewers opted to hold Kamala's hand during the entire interview. And I mean from start to finish, okay? Save for maybe, the 2 or 3 times that they chose to repeat and push a question due to her blatant refusal to give a concise and direct answer. Those 2 or 3 times, I would say, are the exception. But, she was literally allowed to sit up on that stage and mystify, shroud, and confound every opportunity to give concrete responses. And additionally, it was preposterous to me, the line of questioning that they chose to pose to her. I felt like this was the time to aggressively demand answers for Black people in America. This was the time, this was the stage, this was the setting to demand and necessitate and postulate for the things that matter and directly affect and speak to our community. In my view, she was completely let off the hook, and that was unacceptable to me. Now, another crucial issue for me that I think is definitely noteworthy is that from this sit down, I gathered, and from the form of limited spaces where she's actually been, in settings of having to respond directly to questions. Because we all know that she is not good at that. She is not good in interview settings in real time. She is good at memorizing scripts. She is not good at interplay with an individual and having to think on the spot and respond on the spot. Because apparently she is not a person of sensibility and spirit and passion. She fails miserably at engaging and sending a clear, direct message about what it is that she wants to do. So that everything that was taking place within the sit down was very awkward from start to finish. And also, because she is not able to engage properly, and she is used to reading off of and memorizing scripts, when she is asked a question where she has to think on the spot, and possibly the question may entail something that she did not rehearse, it is evident to me that this woman is absolutely allergic to answering questions. She cannot answer questions. She deliberately evades and filibusters her way out of answering directly each and every time she is asked about a matter that her interests don't align with and that her scripts haven't made space for. Why are people out here acting like this isn't a reality? I know I'm not the only one seeing this. I know my real ones out there have. And trust me, I've come across bits of people here and there across different platforms who've noticed the same thing. But surprisingly, there isn't enough people, in my view, calling this out, calling this aspect out. This fake, rehearsed personality, an empty suit, as I've heard her referred to as previously by somebody, and it was quite accurate. She appears to be an empty suit. How is it that you think you're going to appeal to an intelligent public with that type of disposition, with that type of stance and posture, that you can just filibuster your way over questions, and I'm supposed to accept that? It's absolutely insulting to the intelligence of me and my peers who are watching along with this. Anything that doesn't curtail towards her interests, the one that she's getting millions and millions of dollars for from APAC and all these big banks and big corporations, anything that goes outside the line of those things, she has no stance on, no answer for. This should be viewed as very disconcerting to Black people. Skating around the issues and evading questions makes it quite clear to me that you are not ready to handle the pressure of presidency. You are not ready to take responsibility as a president or as anything else, real talk. Your leadership qualities are an absolute question because it is showing to me non-commitment. You are non-committed to standing on business. That's what that shows. You not being able to answer questions head on and straight on. You are cowering from questions. That is weakness, and that is unacceptable. You're picking and choosing because ask her about details concerning Israel and what she feels about empowering that government. Ask her about ensuring the Israeli economy. Ask her about supplying defense and weapons and everything. And she's coming up roses, all tickle pink, lit from within and giving all types of elaborate, poetic orations about justice and democracy. As soon as it comes to Israel, you can't get her to stop talking. Ask this woman also about abortion in this country. And she's got fervor for days, y'all. Barely able to sit still in her seat. She's so anxious to talk about that aspect. But ask this woman about the nation's cost of living and the absurd increase that's taking place across the nation. Ask her about the increase in homelessness across the country, and she'll spin a slow, drawn-out, pointless web. She'll start naming all types of scenarios and giving random anecdotes that nobody asked for. Okay, and she'll start doing anything and everything else to keep from having to define what she will do to solve those particular problems. Every time I hear this woman ask a question about anything that isn't pro-Israel or pro-abortion based, her logic goes completely asunder. completely asunder. Her faculties, seem to malfunction. She's talking in circles, and it's just astounding to me. And it happens every single time without fail. She does not answer questions, you guys. Red flag. She refuses to answer questions, so much so that even this panel, who were way too lenient with her, as I had mentioned, even they, with all their sensitivity that they had towards her apparently, even they had to point out and dig a heel in the ground a little bit just to get a clear response from her on what was being asked. And even then, she evaded. It's crazy. Now, there was a point that got really kind of thick for me, and it's the point of the discussion where she was asked particularly about black men. And the interviewers highlighted the fact that the black men are leaning more towards Trump in matters relating to the economy, right? Basically stating how black men at this particular juncture do not trust her, okay? And they don't see that she is keeping black men particularly in mind concerning jobs and all other economic factors, okay? And she begins to respond to the question about black men. And it's in a manner that just had my mind absolutely ticking. So she responds by saying, quote, "I think it's important to not operate under the assumption that black men are in anybody's pocket. Black men are like every other voter. I have to earn their vote." End quote. Now, I found this to be such a strange, uncommitted statement, principally because for the past month, she has said nothing of black men since we got word of her running, okay? She has said nothing about black men. Not a single utterance to their specific place in this country. But here you are capping as if, you want to win them over. You're trying to schmooze and cajole black men now. Moreover, black men are absolutely unlike any other group in America. So I don't know what she is talking about by saying, oh, black men are like every other. No, the hell they're not, ma'am. Okay? No, they're not. Precisely because no one in this country experiences the level of trauma, discrimination, blunt force, carelessness, and legalized hate like that of black men. Miss me with it. How dare she say something so myopic, fallacious, and invalid? The goal of this woman. And she failed to provide a concrete address of a plan of action that will eliminate things like unemployment of the many black men who are facing this particular issue. Okay? She brought up her script about, the opportunity economy policy, right? That's the damn thing that I was so tired of hearing throughout this entire sit down. It was crazy. Opportunity economy. Like, that's going to she treat that shit like it's some tussin. Like, you could just put that and throw that on anything and it's going to heal it. Opportunity. Come on, y'all. Throw the opportunity economy on it, y'all. Some damn tussin out here. And what's crazy is that this quote unquote opportunity economy only seems to address people who are business owners. Only people pursuing business, entrepreneurship. That's what that opportunity economy applies to. But what she fails to recognize is that there are millions of black people who do not own businesses, nor do they intend to. There are people out there who are not on that type of time. That isn't for everybody. How are you going to address the other half? The entire time, she addresses startup companies and small businesses, which was crazy to me. And then she goes on a spew, talking about, how, businesses currently only get something like a $5,000 tax deduction, which she says that she's going to work to ensure that would be extended to something like $50K. But, it still does not apply, to every black man and black woman and black child. Okay? Everybody does not have a business. So it's absurd and ridiculous that she would even posture such a thing as if, it can be used as a cloak to cover the black community. Oh, well, you can get this amount of money. We're going to extend that to $50K. What about the non-business owners? What about the blue collar workers? Okay, the people that get up and work hard every day. What about the construction workers? What about the postman and the UPS dude and the dude that's working at the factory? You know what I'm saying? Or the dude that's working in corporate America. Well, what about the people on that side? What is your damn opportunity economy going to do for that side? And moreover, what is your opportunity economy going to do to ensure that black men aren't getting derailed from gaining employment opportunities on an equal basis? How is that going to go? Way too many details in that particular segment were left open-ended, and none of the black men that were on the panel, those two gentlemen, pushed the issue. And these are the areas that I was talking about, where they were being way too lenient, extending way too much courtesy, where they should have been pressing on these particular matters that concern our people. Now, speaking of open-ended, reparations was brought up once again, you guys, in this sit-down. And in true fashion, Kamala circumvented and skirted right on past the matter, okay? And she also, once again, backed the quote-unquote study that she wants to be done, quote-unquote, in order to see what can be done. Now, one of the gentlemen on the panel brought up the fact that Congresswoman Jackson Lee, who had, formulated the particular bill for reparations for black people, he had mentioned that she called for President Biden to take executive action to create the Commission for the Cause of Reparations for Black Americans. Okay, this is what she was pushing, that he take executive action in order to push this bill through. And he shed light on the fact that, of course, Kamala co-sponsored that particular bill with Jackson Lee. Yet, when she was asked if she intends, when she is president, to take executive action to ensure that the bill gets put forth, Kamala said that she will not do such a thing. She will not take executive action, but she will instead leave it in the hands of Congress, y'all. So she is telling black Americans flat out, in case anybody previously thought otherwise, that she will leave reparations in the hands of Congress, and that if they so choose to hold it up as valid and deem it worthy, then we'll just have to wait on them to decide that. But as for herself, should she be president, she would take no action and make no move or motion to put it through. Worse yet is how she swerved right on into, topics unrelated to reparations, okay, to kind of filibuster and change the attention span of the audience and everybody else watching. She started talking about student loan debt in relation to reparations. How the fuck that applies, I have no idea. She brought in medical debt. Oh, medical debt was going to be taken off people's credit score, y'all. You tell me how student loans and medical debt is addressing the matter specific to African descendants of slaves in this country. Student loans are shared by every American who has gone to school and taken out a loan. It applies nothing particularly to African people in this country. Okay? That's not specific to black folks. Why are you talking about student loans and medical debt? I'll tell you why. Because you want to evade the issue and confound the energy of the room and the focus of the room away from where it should be on addressing African-American people in this country who are the descendants of the hellacious chattel slavery system in this country, and who, because of that system, still suffer the effects and the discrimination and the degradation associated with the racist system of this nation. Don't talk to me about medical debt. Save that for another topic in another category. We are talking about reparations for my people. And you want to talk about studying it as if it hasn't been studied 1,000,000 times over and calculated 1,000,000 times over. This is what I'm talking about when I say this woman was absolutely allowed to get up on that stage and play in our faces. No backlash, no pushback from those interviewers, whatever, you guys. She can sit up there and cite from her memorized script all types of notions about, the general impact of slavery, redlining, the Jim Crow. But you can't cite your own intentions on how to pay the debt that this country owes to these descendants, to us, who have built and provided every ounce of wealth of this nation from corner to corner. Wealth that has built the banking systems, the same banking systems that deny black people access to loans and home ownership and everything else. That has built institutions that this nation boasts about. That's my people's contribution. Yet we are in a system that constantly marginalizes people, my people across the board. We don't need any further studies done, ma'am. We need solutions and we need tangibles that our people can stand on because it is owed to us. Owed to us. Stop talking to me like you're doing us a favor. Put some respect on our names. This woman's carelessness seems to, circulate and permeate into everything that isn't concerning, as I mentioned, her interests. Now, she was also asked about the Israeli-Palestine war, of course, once again, because that's a very prominent topic at the moment. And I found it repulsive and horrid that when she was asked if she had a specific policy in tow and ready to be implemented, should she be elected president, that she would have that policy ensuring an end to the war in Palestine, and if we can look forward to any distinct changes made within that policy from that of Joe Biden's current policy, if we can look forward to changes in her policy. And like a robot, she replies and echoes the same thing that she stated during the debate. She said, quote, "Let me be clear. I support Israel's ability to defend itself. And I support the need for Palestinians to have dignity, self-determination, and security as we move forward to get a two-state deal done." End quote. What does she mean by that? You make it clear that you support Israel's defense of itself by way of supplying more weapons. But when it comes to Palestine, you support, quote unquote, their dignity? Their dignity. So that means that you don't support them defending themselves. That's what you're saying. Because you made it clear with the word choice there. I support Israel's right to defend itself. And when it comes to Palestine, you support their dignity? You support them dying by the hundreds of thousands a day. That's what you're saying. That's the dignity you're talking about? The dignity of 1 and 5-year-olds being blown to dust? Is that the dignity we are speaking of? What is this woman talking about, you guys? And why is she permitted? Why is it allowable for her to get up there and speak this nonsense? What security of the Palestinians is she talking about? Because I don't see you running to anybody's defense over on that side in the Gaza or in the West Bank. What security are we talking about? These people have their homes being ran into and raided. They're out to work, and next thing you know, here comes some Israeli person literally stealing their home when they return, or their homes are being bulldozed. I mean, since it is evident that she will not seize, nor the American government in tandem, they will not seize the supplying of weapons to Israel. So what security and dignity is she referencing? What is she alluding to regarding the Palestinian people? There is no doubt that what she is saying is that she wants them to die quietly with dignity. Just die with your dignity. Let me blow you up with your dignity. Let me invade and raid your home and rape your women and children with dignity. Please do not be fooled, beautiful people. Okay? Now, there was a point also now where the, discussion changed and the trajectory changed to the matter of abortions, which is, of course, among her favorite topics. And she proudly said that as soon as Congress pushed the Roe versus Wade bill, she'll proudly sign it and put it into motion. So this has her fervor. This has her heat and her energy on it. I'll proudly sign it. But she doesn't want to take any executive action and authority on the reparations issue. But here, she's willing to put, sign her name in blood on a piece of paper for this particular matter. Now, this was about as enthused as she was the entire evening. Okay, she got to huffing and puffing in her seat vehemently, making it known that no government's going to tell a woman what she's going to be doing with her body, right? Which is all good and well. But abortion is a minute societal concern, real talk. It exists, but it exists on the periphery. It is not a major concern for the American gaze. It is a factor. It is among importance that a woman should be taken care of and medically, cared for, if she needs those types of services. 1,000%. It is not trivial, by a long shot. It's right up there along with every other medical concern and every other medical need in this country. It's part and parcel to, the medical field and medical industry and health and accessibility as a whole. So to single it out is very strange to me. It's very odd, especially considering the fact that there are so many other disparities concerning women across the board that are not being spoken about at all. One being the disparities surrounded around a lack of focus among the pay gap and the pay differentials among Black women and white women. Where is the talk about that? Okay? We are not talking about when we see each other as women at work and why Susan is getting $10,000 more a year than I am for the same position. We are not talking about that aspect. We are not talking about how, regardless of degree or background, a Black woman will be paid substantially less than her white counterparts. Where is that discussion? Abortion is not even on the list of things that I am concerned about as a woman. Real talk. And quite honestly, it is not among the things, at the forefront of a lot of my peers' mind, females as well. Why isn't there any focus on, let's say, single mother homes with this type of energy and fervor? Women working hard, breaking their necks to provide for and house their children. Where is the backing and the support and the pushing of that narrative and of those solutions, particular to women? Now, I know that Kamala mentioned a proposed $6,000 tax cut, to families and things like that. But what is that going to do to ensure that a substantial amount of money can be put towards, let's say, children's future, whether they want to go to college or whether they want to do whatever? I'm talking about the long haul. What does that tax cut really look like in the face of skyrocketing rent across the nation, for example? Do you know what I'm saying? There's a complete disregard of the real issues at hand. And I find it absolutely remarkable that she is not being pushed aggressively on these things. And equally remarkable is the fact that, I think a lot of women are being mystified, that she's in their corner because she is a female and that she is speaking loudly against things like abortion. Your abortion stance does not serve, the major and dominant needs of women. Women are not walking around having sex and popping out babies that they don't want on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. What? That is scenario based. That is not a consistent factor in a woman's life. Like going to work, like having to pay rent, having to pay for that car insurance, having to get that car note paid and groceries. That is the constant in a woman and man's life. How about you put some of that fervor behind it instead of pushing for abortion? How about you push for some life? Because I know that Black women are suffering at the hands of these medical industries for the lack of care that they are getting when they are trying to give birth, as I mentioned in the previous video. What about some policies that would ensure non-discrimination against my people, my women, who are giving birth to their babies with all the intention in the world to raise these children with a healthy life, but are facing unnecessary medical complications due to negligence, systemically linked to racism in this country? Talk to me about that. Talk to me about these doctors giving particularly Black women unnecessary C-sections just to fill a goddamn quota. Talk to me about that. And of course, none of the, supposed intelligent panel of interviewers posed those issues or brought things like that up. I guess it just went above everybody's head. But in the closing of the show, also incredible to me was the way that the National Association of Black Journalists decided to end the program. Instead of really driving home, a topic of depth and of breadth for our people, who have serious questions, who are in attendance or who may be watching, who really want to see firsthand her stance on something heavy, a heavy matter. Okay. Because the reparations didn't go over well. The black men she barely addressed. I'm thinking, okay, well, this is the last shot. This is the close of the show. Let's push something and get her to stick on something, and let's put it to her. Let's pull up with some phenomenal questions to close this evening. Child, this woman was instead asked about how people have been criticizing her for laughing too frequently, particularly the Republican Party. She was asked why she feels, get this, you guys. She was asked why she feels joy is important to insert in this election, and what she feels or makes about the Republicans using that as a way to denote that she isn't a serious candidate. Did these people really... This woman is vying for the presidency to become president of the United States of America, and you asking her about joy? Joy? What the fuck is her joy going to do to ensure that black men aren't harassed on their way home from work tonight? Joy? How is your joy going to bring the rent cost down to a livable rate in this nation? Joy? What is your joy going to do to these bank owners who are going to deny giving me a loan because I don't look the part? This is the manner in which they decided to end the show, you guys, to end the program, with a concern about how she's being perceived by Republicans as being too joyous or too laughable a candidate. What the hell? I came across a segment on MSNBC where they did a poll, right? Basically, they're trying to give you a visual of the level of excitement that black people have in this election for Kamala, as opposed to back in 2008 when Obama was running, when he ran, okay? They wanted to do a comparative analysis of the engagement and excitement level of black folk. And I just found that to be quite the exemplary picture, because it showcases perfectly what the temperature is of this government and of this country as far as how they view black people. They want to see how excited you are with the candy they gave you, with the carrot they're dangling in front of you. They are not concerned about your engagement level, about your participation in trying to push progressive movement forward towards real change in this nation. They are not trying to gauge and do analysis of, black people's severity in establishing and maintaining economic independence and economic empowerment within their communities for our people. No, they're not interested in doing the analysis and the study and the graft on that. What they were trying to do is see how excited you are about this quote unquote black woman that's running, as opposed to your excitement about the black man that ran 15 or so years ago. They want to see how entertained you are. Are you satisfied? Look, you got a black person, y'all. You're happy? Huh? You happy? That definitely pretty much sums up the tone of this particular program and the tone of the entire electoral cycle. I think anyone with intelligence would be left bereft after watching that, would be left completely in a state of virtual penury, in all honesty. It's just absolutely necessary that we cover our basis as a people group. I think the general scope of America needs a conscious awakening, and it's imperative that all people involved in this nation, take a serious stance in making the decisions that's best for them. However, as it pertains to my people, we got to be decisive. We have to be clear about our objectives, as I always say, and I always pause and push that because it is absolutely necessary for us to be aware of what we are dealing with, for us to be aware of our particular place within all of that, and to make the necessary decisions for ourselves and our families and our communities as a whole. I posited some very important information about the Green Party, because I think it's necessary that that option be on the table, the third party option, so that we do not feel, as stuck between two evils. There is a third party option. I'm not saying that that is the solution. I was not trying to come across as if that is the solution, the end all be all, but it is an option. And the Green Party is an option that stands up for and upholds values that directly speak to me personally. And I think that directly impact Black people, particularly because the matter of things like reparations is at the forefront of their objectives and of their language and of their parlance. It is of importance. It is of value to Jill Stein and Professor Butch Ware. These people are talking about that, and I think that their stance in being anti-genocide is absolutely valid and necessary because it is a human rights issue. Their stance on police brutality in this nation, I really think that it's needless to say that if I were to vote, because of course I have not made up my mind yet, but if I were to vote, that would be the party that I would definitely lean towards, which is why I felt it important to share the details of their campaign, of the people behind that particular party, of what they stand for on this platform. I think it's absolutely imperative to share that type of information. So wherever you go, whatever you guys decide come November and moving forward as a Black people, I think that our empowerment as a collective should be the focal point, and we do not ever need to assume, that we owe our vote to anybody who does not show up and show out for issues directly and specifically related to us. It's time to take our politics seriously, and by politics, I do not only mean the electoral process and candidates and all this, that, the third. I mean our lives as politics, as previously touched upon in another commentary. Our lives as politics, our education as politics, our savings accounts as politics. Everything is political with Black people, and I think that type of severity and mentality will serve us well now and into everything we do in the future. Black, no sugar, please.